Had an apicoectomy about 6 months ago. It was on a tooth that had root canal about 15 years prior. Had one of the top endodontists in Chicago perform the apicoectomy. Was a very small infection. Surgery went well, had follow-up, healed fine, X-ray looked normal. Tooth has been bothering me, similar to pain before apicoectomy. Is it likely that the infection could have returned this quickly? Or it is likely something else such as a gum infection? In thing that's odd is if I press my tongue against the gum line on the back of the tooth I get a big pulsing sensation.
Well, from the symptoms you are describing in regards, pulsing upon pressure on the gum line does indicate that there is some inflammation within the periodontal ligament. The PDL is the shock absorber around the root of the tooth. It can become inflamed and irritated from endodontic reasons, such as need for root canal, periodontal reasons, gums and surrounding tissues, occlusion, bite. So I guess the two things that need to be examined for you would be the periodontal health around the tooth. Some teeth have combined lesions/infections, that means there is an endodontic source and a periodontal source. So you've had the endodontic source treated via the root canal and subsequent apicoectomy, that leaves the periodontal health in question. If there is an active disease state, even if just localized around that single tooth, it should be examined, treated by your dentist or periodontist. The other thing that may be worth examining is the occlusion of that tooth or surrounding teeth. When a tooth is healing from an apicoectomy, it will create some irritation to the PDL and could have altered your occlusion just slightly. This means that inflammation can shift the tooth fractions of and that can put extra pressure on the tooth or neighboring teeth, resulting in discomfort. So it's good to hear that the area healed well. I think you may just need to have the tooth looked at from another perspective, perio-probings and occlusal analysis.
Your first instinct would not be that the infection of the root itself is causing the pain, meaning the apico infection is back. That the pain I feel is not likely tooth/root, but PDL/gum?
The pain is definitely PDL and gum, but the concern is that can be one and the same in regards tooth/root and that combined lesion diagnosis that I'm referring to. It is difficult to separate symptoms in regards true source of the irritation. My point is you should follow up with a practitioner, because if it is, best case scenario, a perio or occlusion issue, it needs to be treated quickly because the perio condition can communicate and reinfect and cause non-healing of your apicoectomy. Perio/endodontic lesions are difficult to diagnose because one of the two issues will be obvious and the other can be more hidden until the obvious is treated. That being said, the last thing I want to mention is that many practitioners will lessen the bite on the treated tooth after a root canal or an apicoectomy. After 6 months, your occlusion, bite, has probably returned to its normal position in regards tooth, or the opposing teeth have erupted further to meet it. So if it may simply be you are actually chewing/occluding on this tooth and it's sensitive to this new pressure.
Got it. Very helpful. One last question. If a perio or ocular issue, would that potentially cause cold sensitivity? Forgot to mention that as a symptom, which is concerning on a tooth with no root.
Either one can cause cold sensitivity, and its cause it affects the adjacent teeth as well. I personally in my mouth have experienced this with a cracked root after a root canal treatment, and I found it interesting how the tooth had pain and sensitivity even after a root canal. It would probably put more weight on perio being the issue. I wish I could make this an easier topic, but it is challenging for practitioners and is often the source of disagreement on treatment philosophy.
I forgot to mention one last thing. I was examining the gums around the tooth that I had the apicoectomy on. There was a small white bump. Is this normal for a tooth post-surgery, 6 months later, like a scare, or should I be concerned about an abscess?
Like a pimple-type bump, it could definitely be an abscess that is trying to drain. There are periodontal abscesses and endodontic abscesses. Everything you are describing is very indicative of a combined lesion. So you'll want to go back to our endodontist ASAP to determine origin of abscess and if the infection can be prevented from going into toward the apicoectomy site.
If you have a health question and want to chat with a doctor now, visit justanswer.com/ythealth.